Joining me now from Jerusalem is UN Watch Executive Director Hillel Neuer. Hillel, what are your thoughts on a potential ceasefire? Do you think this could happen?
I think it could happen, but let's recall that Hamas is a terrorist organization with a history of exploiting ceasefires to rearm and regroup. They're demanding an IDF withdrawal, a complete withdrawal from Gaza, and unrestricted aid flows, which are really tactical ploys for Hamas to maintain control over the captive population in the Gaza Strip and divert resources to their own war machine. So Israel has a moral priority to get out as many hostages as they can, to bring all the hostages back as soon as they can. They're under brutal conditions, but Hamas's demand that they maintain power to rearm, regroup, and attack Israel again cannot be accepted.
Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts on whether or not they hid some enriched uranium, if they still have some power? I mean, both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have told me that they have obliterated Iran's capacity. But Iran is claiming that it has enough missile capacity to strike the United States and Israel daily for 2 full years. The White House is disputing this. Of course, one of the goals, in addition to knock out its nuclear capacity, was also to knock out its capacity to build ballistic missiles. The administration is also rebuffing a New York Times report which claims some of Iran's enriched uranium did survive Operation Midnight Hammer, according to a senior Israeli official. The White House says, quote, as President Trump has said many times, Operation Midnight Hammer totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The entire world is safer thanks to his decisive leadership. Here's the president and the prime minister about that enriched uranium during my conversations with them. Watch.
President Trump told me that he does not believe that the Iranian regime moved any enriched uranium before the U.S. struck those 3 facilities. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that Iran has hidden any enriched uranium?
Well, we think we know where it is. It's sort of buried underground. And we don't have contrary information. That's our intelligence, too. But I think, it's like we had 2 lumps of cancer. One was that could kill you. One was the nuclear cancer, and they were rushing to weaponize their enriched uranium. When they did that, after we crushed Hezbollah and after we got rid of Nasrallah, they were, the Iranian axis in the Middle East was broken. So what did they have left? Well, they rushed to nuclear weapons. And that was one cancerous growth that could have killed us.
Do you think that the Iran regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No. You mean, did they take it out of the deep one? No.
Because you were pretty clear you can't have a weapon. You're going to have to come to the talk. Something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, we didn't give them much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then. And nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable. No, they didn't. But I do believe they had people there because you had cars. They were saying cars. And those were masons. Those were people working with concrete. They were trying to seal up the entrance to where the bomb would most likely go in. And they did that. They were working on that.
I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved. But I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have moved,
they didn't move anything.
They didn't move anything.
You know what? They moved themselves. They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything. They didn't think it was going to be actually doable.
So, Hillel, I guess my question is, why is it that the Iranian regime can actually, get as obliterated as it did in terms of their capacity, as the president told us, but then come back days later and say they're going to put a fatwa on the back of President Trump, and they're going to make a call to Muslims across the world to take down the president?
Look, Iran, their claims are clearly exaggerated propaganda. There is bluster coming from the Islamic regime. They're trying to project strength after devastating U.S.-Israeli strikes on their nuclear sites, the Israeli elimination of IRGC terrorist generals, and their weakened position since the attacks by the U.S. and Israel demonstrate that they're on the defensive. And a lot of this is bluster meant for internal as well as for their neighbors, for their consumption. But at the same time, clearly the intelligence is imperfect. I don't think we know exactly what happened to the enriched uranium that may be at those sites. As Netanyahu said, it might be buried deep. This only underscores the need for vigilance, follow-up action. We need to make sure that Iran is prevented from rebuilding its nuclear program. We need maximum pressure. I mean, sanctions, military readiness, intelligence sharing, maximum pressure on the Iranian regime.
Well, that's exactly what President Trump is doing, and his relationship with Netanyahu is critical to that. And that's what many of the Democrats miss. President Trump has personal relationships with a number of these people, and that's how he gets his deals done so quickly. You've also got Secretary of State Marco Rubio, quite effective. He's sanctioning a top official at the UN Human Rights Council. That person has been critical of Israel's offensive in Gaza. Francesca Albanese is claiming that Israel is profiting from the war with Hamas, accusing them of genocide nearly 70 times in this new report, Hillel. And even as they are actually putting Netanyahu on trial in Israel, something President Trump said is a witch hunt and is ridiculous, you rebutted these points to her face last week at a meeting of the Human Rights Council. Let's take a look at that first. Watch.
Israel has been fighting a just war against a terrorist army which cynically embeds itself among civilians. Ms. Albanese, war is not genocide. But in your report, there's no war at all. It's only about Israel. We ask, why does your report never mention once the October 7th invasion and massacre or even the word Hamas?
Hillel, what was her reaction, and were you pleased with how she responded?
Well, she did not verbally respond, but throughout the speech, I could see her going into a kind of meltdown. At the end of my speech, her head tilted back in a kind of whiplash. She shut her eyes to imagine it wasn't happening, because I challenged the fact that a UN investigation confirmed that she received funding from pro-Hamas groups. Look, this is someone who is a racist demagogue. She's been condemned by France, Germany, and Canada for anti-Semitism and Holocaust inversion. She blamed the CIA and the Mossad for the ISIS terrorist attack in Paris. So she's really a dangerous nutcase. She's an enemy of America. I want to commend Secretary Rubio for taking the bold and historic step to sanction her. It's a message to the world. It's a message to the UN. If you appoint terrorist supporters and racists as so-called human rights experts, America, at least America, will say no.
Yeah. Don't forget the strategy that the Trump administration has used in terms of pulling Syria into the fold of the good guys, continuing to put a wall around Iran, which was very strategic as well. Hillel, always great to get your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hillel Neuer.